Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Grateful Not Greedy podcast. My name is Kris, and I'm here with my exceptionally talented sports co-host, and her name is Rachel. Hi, Kris. Hello, Rachel. Okay, let's talk about what a great sportswoman you are. What a terrible sports person I am turning out to be. Today, Rach, I would love to work through a little topic with you, something I'm going through, um, about my golf game. And you might remember we somewhat what's hilarious about this is just as we were talking about people pleasing a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, reminding myself that when we had that podcast, I was like, oh yeah, totally fine. I got that. I got that handled. And now this golf thing, I remember distinctly. I don't know how many episodes ago, saying like, oh yeah, I'm a decent enough golfer that I can go out on any given day and at least hit the ball and like get myself around the course and everything. Okay, so challenge accepted. so so this is a full-on grateful, not greedy podcast. Just want to remind everyone, it is so helpful to us. We are on YouTube now. If you're picking us up there, thank you so much. If you subscribe, if you throw us a comment, if you just let us know what's going on or what you felt about the episode. All that feedback is awesome for us, and getting the subscribes and the likes really helps us continue to bring you this content and allow you to into the world of what is grateful, not greedy. How can we get better? Just like by an increment every single day. So thanks as always for joining us today and always. So, Rach, this weekend was my son's birthday, which is awesome and exciting. And a long time ago, I told him he wanted to quit this math class that I was making him take. And he'd taken it for many years, and he was becoming quite obstinate with it. So I said, okay, that's fine. You don't, if you take that off, you have to substitute something else. And he's fine. So he substituted golf. And he's not a big golfer, but for his birthday, he was like, yeah, I'd really like to go golf. So the golfers of the family, three of us go off to golf. And as I'm doing that, and I go off and someone else, we get all the clubs in the car and we're going to this really, really beautiful, I thought it was a really nice course, beautiful day. So I'm like, great day to golf. I get on the driving range and you can always hit way better on the driving range than here.
Yeah.
You just think you're just like, wow, this is awesome. Like I haven't, and I texted my girlfriend because I thought I haven't golfed since I golfed with her. And I was like, I think that's 2 years ago. It was actually 3. So I have not picked up a club by any way, not to hit someone or to get the bat out of the rafters or to hit an actual golf club. I mean, a golf ball in 3 years, over 3 years, in fact. So we were out golfing, and I just want to talk about the experience of what it is to be humbled by the game of golf metaphorically, because anyone in your life has these experiences where you go and you do something that it's like the guys were like, oh, I remember in high school I was such a good football player and and then they go and like throw out their back at the gym or something because we forget that all this time passes without prep, without practice, whatnot. So I'm out. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing okay on the first couple holes. I don't even think so. But pretty rapidly, I realized this is a long enough course for me, and this is going to be a really long day. If I don't learn how to manage my emotions and chill out and like look at the birds, think what a beautiful course I am, how lucky I am to be out golfing, et cetera, et cetera. So, uh, huh, I kind of stopped keeping score. Because I think you're motivated. The first hole a long par five. I don't know if anyone knows golf. Like a par five is like for me. I play from the red tees. I play from technically women's tees, red tees. So par five to start with is a really long hole, and if you're on a long course, it's really long. So you're hitting, you're hitting, you're hitting, you're hitting, you're hitting, you're hitting. I don't know if I had a 10 or 9 or whatever the heck I had, but it wasn't terrible. But pretty quickly I realized that. And as we're going along, my son also. So my son and I are in the cart together. The other, uh, there's another single with us. He's with his wife who doesn't play right along. And then quickly my son realized he was just going to play from my tees. And I was like, okay, that's fine. But now we've got the wrong wrong clubs and the wrong cart and all this stuff. So the other thing that's going on, Rachel, is I don't have a set of clubs anymore. Because I don't play golf, right? I need to remind myself this. I really don't play golf, so I don't have a set of clubs. So I'm like, "Hey, can I borrow that driver?" And it's terrible. The driver's like, I think it's like 3 feet too long for me, honestly. I'm like, "What? How am I gonna hit this thing? I don't even know what to do with this." I don't have a driver. I don't have a putter that's mine. I don't have my normal all this stuff. So, before I go on and talk about my whole process of coming to appreciate and accept my golf day, that maybe you can give me some reflections on how are you feeling me on this? Because it's it if you've played golf or maybe you're a tennis player, maybe you're a surfer, I don't know what the correlates are. Um, w when you're like a golfer, I consider myself a golfer, I guess, because I know the rules of the course. I know where the cart path stuff is. I know how to go out. I know how to play ready golf. I know this is what we talked about before. I think where I was getting my little bit of hubris is, um, I understand generally how the game is supposed to go, so I don't look like a complete, golf failure out there. However, I have many mishits and less than optimal outcomes because I'm not well practiced and well executed. So what's your reflection on on because there are those of us out there who I can tell you because there's people all over the course, getting frustrated, throwing clubs,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can hear like almost the ground shake when they whack their club into the into the grass, like that they missed that shot that they didn't want to miss, or the clunks in the water. It was a difficult course, tons of bunkers. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities for a lot of frustration buildup, and this is so metaphorical for life.
Yeah, and metaphorical for grateful, not greedy, right? I mean,
Absolutely,
and it
100%.
and, to reflect a little bit on what you already said, you said it was a beautiful day, you're out on the course, and you're with your son on his birthday, that's what you wanna do. It has nothing to do all of those things, and it's a beautiful course. None of those have any impact on your golf game, but
Correct.
all of them have impact on your attitude and
Definitely.
your
Well, they should.
feeling.
They quote unquote should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can, they
They
can,
can. Yeah.
they can, and in my world, I'm like, that's where I like to come from, and because, like, I didn't grow up as an athlete, I didn't grow up doing anything really athletic, and I found I love physically doing things, like, I've learned how to golf, and I'm learning how to play pickleball, and I'm learning how to, you know, um, just do a lot more, um this point and later in life, and I really enjoy it, and I kinda regret not having it before.
Yeah.
But
I can see that.
there is, like, a very humble moment when you're like, "Okay, I
Mhm.
really this is gonna take a minute." And then the other piece
Mhm.
is, like, how much do I what expectations do I have of myself here? And
Yes.
are those realistic? And that's the question I have to ask myself because the women I get to play with right now for pickleball, for example, they're
Mhm.
amazing. Like, there's a lot of
Oh, yeah.
laughter, there's a lot of fun, like, they're awesome people, and we're usually at a very beautiful court. You can see the ocean from it, like, all of those things that, like, you're describing in yours, and then,
Yes.
like, no one's expecting me to be amazing. They know exactly who I am. They know I'm brand spanking new. Like, I didn't lie to them about that, right? Um,
Yeah.
and,
Here's Rachel. Oh, here comes Rachel. Great. Who's gonna pick her last on their team? Yeah. Here she comes.
no, yeah, they're so sweet, and they're a little older than me. They're like, "Oh, she's so cute. She's like our little chick." So it becomes this sweet, funny thing, but it's taken the pressure off because
Yeah.
it is like a friendly environment. So that helps. But then, we went to a lesson, and there was like the coach there and he's like, do this and do that. And I was like, full overwhelm. I'm like, I am just figuring out what this paddle does right now. Like, I can't figure
Yeah.
that out. And that's where I had to like kind of shake that off and be like, that's not what I'm here to do. Like, yes, I'm here to my goal was to learn one thing from that lesson, not the 12 things he was trying to teach us. And so I was like, I'm just gonna focus on one of those and just be happy with that. And whatever his goal is not my goal. And I have to remember that. And then the other people in the class also have different goals, and they don't have to be my goals. So that's one of the things I try to keep in mind is it's my opportunity to explore something new and be a beginner, and learn something different, challenge my brain in a different way, but also like realize that they're my goals and someone else's goals don't have to be mine. So like when you're out playing
Mhm.
and you had someone else with you that
Oh,
you
yeah,
didn't
who
know,
good.
right?
Oh, right, and
Their
Andy was
goals
good.
yeah, and
Yeah.
he was probably yeah, he's good, right? Their
Mhm. What?
goals his goals might be very different than yours, and you have to be like, "I don't have to take that on. That's not for you to take on."
Uh,
And,
yeah, I guess.
and no, I would say
Okay,
like,
well, no, let's talk about that because
okay, because I
you
would say
okay.
this goes into people pleasing.
Well, no, agreed, but it also goes into this is kind of the point about this is a good contention in here to, like,
Okay.
have this, like, flesh some of this out because it also goes to I don't know, is there something about I'm showing up, me as a golfer, I'm paying my money just like I always say, my money's green just like anyone else's, your money's green, Elon Musk's money is green too, his is just a lot greener, I guess, but it's just green. So when you show up and you're going to one of these courses where you're paying to play, yes, you deserve then to be there. And I guess it's a public course, right? So I guess everyone should understand that even though it costs money to pay on that course, that it's still a public course and whoever's going. But I kind of did feel bad for this guy on many occasions, not because we were terrible all the time, but because, there's 3 of us very mediocre golfers, and there's one of him pretty decent. You could tell consistent golfers, like, could nail the greens, could make a birdie here and there, could get some really nice shots off. He was it was good, fun to watch him, but I'm also like, yeah, I did kind of pick up some of that because I felt I took it off. I agree with you. I mean, I have but you have to kinda, like, de-layer yourself a little bit from it if you're not a if you're not a golfer. Like, you have to there's a piece out there. Imagine if you were out pickleballing and you paid to be in some tournament, right? And you show up with your little pickleball what is it, a racket? What do they call that thing? Paddle.
Mm,
You
mhm.
show up with your paddle. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I have so many good friends who are pickleballers, and I always
I know.
forget, like, what is that thing? Yeah. You show up with your paddle to this tournament, and, there's other players who are there, like, they know you're coming, I guess you get scored or whatever, but in that kind of a situation, you don't feel bad at all that you're not kind of I mean, we're keeping pace, I was watching there's a little timer there to make sure that you're keeping but to keep pace, what do I need to do? I need to pick up sometimes, I need to play a little bit of a scramble with my
Yeah.
really good golfer. I was like, "Oh, this looks like a good spot to drop my ball since I'm not keeping score anymore."
Right.
Which is part of the that's grateful, not greedy, right? Just accept it. Accept it. I probably lost, I don't know, 3 sleeves of balls, which is 9 balls. I mean, it was just it's ridiculous. It was just, like, crazy, and the other guys were losing my other guys were losing them too, so we probably lost 20 balls. But but what about that? Are you suggesting that I don't feel like anything about that?
I would say, what does that get you? And what does that get him? So this other person, your number 4 in your foursome,
Yeah.
if you feel bad, what does that get you in your game of golf that day? Like, what does that get you in result to that? And then what does that get him? That doesn't change the situation. Like, you can be like, "Hey, like, I bet you wish you were with someone, like, people who were a little bit faster or more challenging or whatever," and be like, and you can acknowledge it, but then it's like, it's not gonna get him, like, to feel bad over that is not gonna change his situation or his day. It's not gonna change his game. So,
Well,
my
it
question
can't
is, like
that's actually a really good point because if it does, that's his challenge, not mine.
true,
Right, because
and
this
so
is
but
not a game
you're
where
taking
anything that I'm doing has should have any impact on what he's doing. You play your own ball, it's your own shot, it's your own
totally.
tees, like,
Yeah,
that's
and
a really
that's
interesting point.
yeah, and that's what I said. I was like, it's your game. You come in with your expectations, your feeling,
Yeah,
even though you're playing with others, it's your
yes.
thing,
This is
right?
life. This is life.
This is life. This is
Life is I'm going around playing my life, and playing
Yep.
my own ball and hitting in the trees or hitting on the fairway or hitting a perfect shot or hitting a, three putting or whatever the heck. Like I'm all over the place. And then I'm annexed by these other people living their lives, whether they're parallel to mine or they're perpendicular or they're on the green already or I'm behind. You're correct. Like that is actually it's a really excellent way to look at the comparative conversation because I am so tempted to be in his shoes, to be as good as he is, to be
Yeah.
able to hit from the tees that he's hitting and just like and then the two of us we'd be like the good ones, right? And we'd be like, "Oh, do that." And then at least he'd have a buddy, or like one of the other guys would have been like along. But you're right. He's not thinking and we're all on pace, which I'm really, a stickler about at golf. I never wanna be the foursome because you can't be, the starter, there's a ranger coming
Right.
around and, which is that's kinda stressful. But actually and you bring up another good point. You bring up so many good points, Rachel, without even knowing it. Like, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna take this moment. I'm gonna take this moment just to say, in consultation for this podcast, I contacted our producer, who happens to be a scratch golfer, and I was like,
Oh, you didn't
"Hey."
know that about him.
Our
That's awesome.
producer is a scratch golfer, which I was thinking about. I was like, "I have this whole story about golf," and I thought, who better to give me some tips about golf than our illustrious producer, Sean? So stay tuned, everyone. Don't go away, because at the end of this episode, popped in somewhere towards the end, will be a few tips, 3 to 5, 6, 10. I don't even know what he's gonna do, but he's gonna give us a little freebie, and I can't wait because I don't even know what he's gonna say yet.
And that's gonna
Like,
be so
I
great.
don't even know, like, what he is going to say, but if you are a golfer or a lifer, because this is the thing, I'm gonna see what those tips are, and we're gonna be able to take his tips as like a scratch golfer. That means he does not miss, right? That means par 4 means you get 4 shots. At par 3 means you get 3 shots, and he's birdieing and eagling here and there, and, he doesn't really have a bogey, which is 1 over. That means he plays par. That's scratch. So, I'm actually gonna be really interested when those are popped in and we haven't heard them, reflecting on this whole episode of Golf is Life, of what the correlate is to his tips of golf and our grateful not greedy tips of life.
Yeah.
Right? So everyone come along the ride for us because now that we're realizing that this is a conversation about life, that's gonna be really interesting to say like, "Oh, what does he mean about life?" So, related to that, when you're talking about like, should I feel bad? Should I not feel bad? What's the situation? One of the a couple of the cool things that happened while I was out there was, I'm just hitting away and, I I realized how grateful I was, and I told my son this. I said, "You know what's so cool that I'm so grateful for in this moment is that I was able to learn to play golf at all." And honestly, I said, I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity, and I was telling my son the story. So I said, my um some people know I've mentioned in other pods that my mom died unexpectedly when I was young, yeah, in my early adulthood, and because of that, then my dad has time alone and whatnot, and he at that point lived on a golf course in Florida, and I had a travel job, so I have this travel job. He lives on a golf course in Florida. And I can get to him. And I also, I wanted to be around him. He's alone. My mom's got, it was just a lot. It was a very heavy couple years there. But because of all that, I had my husband played golf. My dad played golf. I'd gone out with my dad one time to play golf, I think when I was like 12. And it was so impossible. I didn't have a lesson. This is a point about prep, right? About life prep. Like you go out to do something in life without the prep, and then you throw the baby out with the bathwater because you just think it's you. You just
Yeah.
think like, "Oh, I just can't do this." So I remember that experience at the Royal Palms, in case anyone remembers, in Phoenix.
Oh, that is some darks.
Remember, that was, like, that beautiful course right at the base of the mountain. I remember it so well, and it was so cool. But fast forward, then I started golfing with my dad because here I am married to my husband, who I'd like to spend some time with. He's a golfer. I'm, the daughter of my dad. He's a golfer. And all of a sudden, I was like, "Hey, wait a minute." And unlike you, I did grow up with sports, and I did love playing sports and any kind of sport, whatever, I'd try it. But the idea all of a sudden that I could learn to play this game and have 4 to 5 uninterrupted hours with my dad on the golf course was
Yeah, it's
genius.
beautiful.
Beautiful, right? So
Yeah.
in that moment being out there, this is kind of the expression of life, right? Because I realized being out there golfing that day with my son, ironically, right? So I used to be with my dad. And now here's my
Mm.
son who I
Yeah.
said, "You're gonna quit this math class. You better freaking I need to find something that you better substitute that in. Da, 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 da. You could put a sport in, you could do whatever, like, but you had to have something. You had to have a substitute." And I was like, random options, but whatever. But he chose golf. So my son then learned to golf under duress. Let's be clear. Under duress, he learned to play golf. But now he plays golf with his mom, and I played golf with my dad. Right? So like that is like a really beautiful thing. And when I was out there, I said that. So that's the first part that I thought grateful, grateful, grateful. The other part, oh, there's so many. The other part that I'm out there, I realized as I'm out there hacking around, and I said it at one point, I was like, gosh, and kind of under my breath a little bit, I was like, I'm trying to remember the last time I played golf. And the guy who's really good out there, Rach, was like, "You don't play golf?" And I was like, "No, it's been years since I played golf." And I was like, "I think it's been at least 2 years." So I checked with my girlfriend, it's actually been 3 years, right? So the 3 years since I started the club. But, but what he said is, if I played golf like that, not playing in 3 years, I'd be really psyched. And I was like, "Oh, so this is the other lesson." My perception is I'm hacking around. I'm like, don't even, what the heck am I doing out here? I'm 6 putting, I'm 12 putting. I don't even know. I stopped. I can't count anymore. I can't keep score. I'm got all this stuff going on in my head. But what the perception of the world is, in this case represented by him, is that everything's fine. Like, to your point, everything's fine. Like, in my head, I've got this whole story going on about my golf game and my misses or da 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 da,
Yeah.
and I'm chill enough because, again, like, I'm not a scratch golfer, so I don't put all that pressure on myself, but
Ah,
interesting to hear from someone else who's like, "Wait a minute. Hold on a second. I just thought you were having a bad day maybe or whatever, but I didn't realize that you actually don't play golf, like, at all." I was like, "I haven't played at all." So reflect on that for me because that is like, I have this beautiful memory of having the opportunity, being so grateful that I even know how to play golf, that I could even be
yeah.
out there on that course, right? That now I used to play with my dad. Now I'm having the opportunity to play with my son. I, in my head, am making up this whole story about hacking around. But in reality, the way that other people are perceiving my experience of golf and life,
Mhm.
I'm sure, is that everything's fine and you're doing great.
Yeah.
And isn't this awesome?
It's interesting because I did learn how to play golf not too long ago. I took him into lessons because my son was learning golf and he was playing it. And so I was like, well, if I have to be at this golf
Right?
range, like, every week or, a couple times a week, I'm like, I'm gonna pick up a club and figure this out because this is, I want to do something. And I really enjoyed it, and it was fun to do it alongside him, right?
Yeah.
And to watch him develop and then, like, learn from him and watch how he's doing it, and then, like, I'm trying to go and he's encouraging me, and it was a really sweet experience, and you're right, like, to be out there, I mean, the courses are beautiful, and of course,
They're
they're beautiful
awesome,
here in
especially
Hawaii
when it's a
too.
nice day and yeah.
Yeah, and so there is something, just lovely sharing a day or time with someone on a golf
Mhm.
course. Like, it is
Or
a
anything,
beautiful
right,
thing.
or in
Yeah.
any way, right? Because you do get that 4 to 5 hours of uninterrupted you're not on your cell phone out there, that's super rude, right? You're not like, there's not stuff like that that's going on, and you're in nature, and you are, like, on the cart, and then you're waiting for the person to tee off,
Yeah,
and
so
then
it's like it's an ongoing conversation. What it
right.
is to me, it felt like an ongoing
This is
conversation and
interesting.
experience, and you are
Yeah,
even if you're not, you're having a bad day and they're having a good day, it doesn't matter because 'cause you're still in it together, and
right,
you're having your own experience chasing your own little white ball, and they're having
right,
their experience, but you guys get to do it in parallel and, like, and have that, especially when you're in a golf cart together, sharing the cart and having conversations as you go through it and all that stuff. It's like, and talking about your last swing and, all of that is is a cool shared experience, whether it's with a girlfriend, a friend, your kid, your parent. I didn't ever
Yeah.
do it with, um, like anybody. Like my grandfather played a lot of golf, never played with him because I didn't learn in time. But there is something really beautiful about that, and is certainly a place of gratitude. Like in pickleball, there's not a lot of conversations in the middle of the game, but, like, when you take a
Right.
break and you're standing on the side, like, that's where the conversations get interesting, right? And it's
Mhm.
those
Yeah.
moments, those connections, and it's all based on connection, right? That's what we want in life, is to
Completely. Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
connected. And so, um I love connecting to people that way, right? And, like,
Yeah.
the time in between, that's the spaces in between where it is that allows it. And sports, like these sports where you play with people, alongside people, allows for that, which is, why I think people are drawn to it, right? They're
Yeah.
drawn to these things because it gives them a place to connect, like a way to connect to others. And it's a wonderful experience. And so the you know, can you feel that connection, and does it feel like that's happening when you put the weight of how you expect yourself to do? And I would say,
Totally.
no,
No.
it doesn't. So now what is the point of
Unequivocally.
playing
No,
the
no,
game?
it doesn't. And it's so in the contrast, it's so freeing if you can one, just do it, right?
Right.
Just
Nike
play
it.
about it, right? But the other thing is to be able to see yourself through someone else's eyes. And that would be
Mm.
for me seeing my son through my eyes, like how much joy it gives me even to see him out there just playing around with us. He stopped after 9 holes, Rachel, and this is another point. Just because you make a decision at the beginning that says, "Hey, I wanna go out and play golf," or "I wanna go out in life at X. I wanna go out and
Right.
do whatever," doesn't mean you can't change your mind halfway through, and doesn't mean you have
Absolutely.
to judge yourself for that, and doesn't mean you have to feel bad for anyone else who's there or, any kind of a story, and yes, it's his birthday, we let him do whatever he wants, I guess, in that case, but still, there are inflection points where you can change course, say and
Absolutely.
just cut it and just call it. Say, "This is a really beautiful experience. So great. I had a great time. I almost don't wanna risk it staying because 'cause I'm having such a great time. I wanna just, stop this moment right here." It's kind of like some of the times, sadly, when I talk about my parents, it's like, well, I get to experience, especially my mom, in like, always memorialized in that beautiful time of life, and it's like the same thing for 9 holes of golf. It's like it ends after 9 for him, but what a beautiful 9. What a great experience we had.
And the fact that he was like, "I'm done." Right?
Yes,
He
good
honored
on
what,
him,
like, he
right?
was like, "I'm good." Like, that's what I wanted, that's all I needed, like, I don't need more, I'm gonna be okay with that, like, I'm not gonna stick it out because 'cause you're sticking it out, like, that alone is, like, great, like, there's not
That's
people
actually
pleasing in there at all,
no,
that's
that's an
taking care of
interesting point
himself.
too, on both sides, because he said to me, and well, I think it was my husband maybe who said, "Oh, well, are we gonna stop, after 9?" Like, "Oh, are we gonna stop?" Or, "Oh, are we all gonna go home?" And I said, "It's my birthday too, actually, in fact."
Ah, yeah, that's right.
Right? So, I was like, "It's actually, in fact, my birthday too." So, because of that, I feel and I again, what we've talked about so many times in this podcast, I don't have to justify myself to anybody, right? But recognizing that was like, it's his birthday, it's my birthday. He wants to express his birthday at 9 holes. Cut. I want to express my birthday and extend it out and keep picking up my ball and keep hacking away and keep trying to get over get over these gullies that they're giving me and, a little splash in the water here and there with my whatever I've got going on. I don't know. I had all kinds of different stuff. It was fun and interesting, lots of drop shots, no problem. But yeah, that whole like flowing through that whole experience. And then to your point too, one of the reasons I started to play golf, and this would be the same for anything in life, is I realized that was an access point for me to spend time with my male counterparts in ways that I wanted to spend time, that I wanted to,
Mm.
I wanted to spend 4 or 5 hours with them, right?
Yeah.
Well, what else? I mean, we could start sailing, which a lot of us have done since then too. Like you could sail, you can, play backgammon, you can do, but it was a way to access, 4 to 5 hours of co-ed time in a sport, which isn't often the case, because just the way sports are played, so it's not always, there's not always co-ed leagues or anything like that with the access. I
Right.
mean, sometimes now it's probably way different than it used to be, but just being able to have all those conversations. And again, it's it's not about golf. It's about what's your patience tolerance? What's your resilience level? What's your self-awareness? What's your ability to get into gratitude and stay there despite what's going on around you or within your own game of life, right? What
Yeah.
is your can you approach something like golf or life that can be difficult, and in the context of that being difficult, be chill and
Well, and that's
self-regulate and all those, like, really advanced life skills.
true. So what you're speaking about right now is like what setting the appropriate expectations for yourself of like, okay, here's what I'm doing and when I'm playing the game. But as I said before, it's not if you just went out and joined a foursome, it'd be different than your experience than when you went out with
Oh,
your
this is so
son
tr
and your husband,
well,
right? And
true,
so there's
true.
there's other pieces and even if you went out with people you didn't know or the last 3 years ago when you went out with your girlfriend, like, different experiences. So there's, of course, your experience of playing the game. That's one part
Yeah.
of your
Yes.
like, what are you doing there? And, like, the how are you approaching it? Grateful, not greedy, like, how are you showing up? What do you like, do you walk in with expectations? And then the other part is, like, what's really happening or like, there's that inner piece, but then there's the bigger piece outside of that that is like, what happens as you interact, as you connect with people, as you sit in the cart with your son, as you,
Yes.
chit chat and wait for the next, or as you, all of that. And to me, that is the pre-work of setting your own expectations absolutely is important. But gaining and as much as you can, like milking that as much as you can, the connections and the experience and all of the
Yes.
things around it
Totally.
is the reason I
Completely.
go back. Is the
Yes.
reason that it like and yes, like, of course, it is, like, a physical challenging experience, like, I love learning about, like, how well can I twist my spine when I, like, do this, and,
Same.
are
Same. The
my
core
hips
yeah.
opens
Yes.
enough, like, I'm, like,
Yeah,
analyzing
totally.
what yoga poses I can do in between to,
Completely.
like, help myself do better, all of that, which I find super
Yes.
fun.
Yes. You and I
Um
are the same person that way. Yes,
yeah,
completely. We're out there,
exactly,
like,
like
doing our eagle pose.
yeah, just, like, analyzing,
Totally.
and, but I also know, like, for me, what drives me is the other pieces too. Like, I'm not going out there alone on trying to play, 18 holes by myself. I'm going out there because, like, I actually enjoy doing it with others, right? Like you said,
Yes.
some of your fond memories is with your dad, right? On the course.
Completely.
And I
Yeah.
I remember that. Like, yeah, that is a big part of it. And it was a beautiful part of your relationship, something you guys shared and bonded on significantly. And
Significantly. Yeah.
and so these sports or these activities, and I could say it could be sports, it could be like my mom's learning how to play bridge, and it's connected her to more people. Now, she's not a
Yes.
fantastic bridge player. It's great because it's just exercising her mind in a different way, learning something new, which is great for her brain. But it's the connections, right? It's the
Yeah.
friendships she's making, the conversations she's having, and all of that. And that's not just for someone who's in their 80s, that's for all of us
It's for
through
all
our
of us.
life. And so when you talk about like when you're like, I want to talk about golf, I was like, okay, we can talk about golf. But I know that this is not just going to be about golf. This is going to be like, what is the bigger picture of this? And
What is this
certainly there might
conversation really about? Yeah.
yeah, and there might be people who go out for the sake of golf, fine. But for the majority of the people, and I would say pickleball the same and bridge the same, like the majority of us, it is the connection that we have, the feeling we have when we're around others and we get to connect. And in this day and age where we connect less, like people are not feeling as connected to their community, their people around them, they're
Yeah.
feeling more alone. These sports, these activities allow us to do it in a very important way. And that is like, it's like watching when my son goes surfing. He's not catching a wave every second. He paddles
Right?
out, he sits up on his board, he chit chats with everybody out there. There's
Yeah,
conversations to
because
be
you have to
had.
wait. You have to
Yeah,
wait.
you have
You have
to
to
wait.
wait. You have to wait for your lane, right? You have to wait for
Right.
something to open, like all that stuff. Yeah. There's
But
a whole
I would
thing.
argue that that is actually the fun of it, is they sitting out there in this beautiful ocean, chit-chatting with people they enjoy, like, resting, noticing the world around them, watching the
Oh,
water, watching the waves, like, same thing here. It if they did it all like, very rarely do I ever see him go somewhere where there's no one else there, right?
right.
So, like, you go and you
And
go
surfing,
for
you
the
go with someone, right? That's like
yeah, you
part
go
of
with
it.
someone
Yeah,
or you meet someone there and then, like, you're
yeah,
sitting out there and you're having conversations and it's like and you can like the water's moving you back and forth and, like, it's just such a beautiful thing. All of these activities that people are really drawn to. Yes, it's beautiful to be in nature for sure, but then there's the other piece of being connected to others and feeling connected to the community. And it is a really I think an important piece about what we need as humans and what overall is slipping away for many people is
yeah.
that lack of connection of feeling connected and these activities allow us to do it.
And th this is such a good point, Rach, because here's the thing too, like, even starting my golf round and knowing that I'm going to, not be s and the starter was a little kinda nitpicky with us at the beginning, and I'm like, "Does he think we, like, don't know what we're you know what I mean? There's all this kinda like you're at a golf course, right? There's all this judgy stuff, like, I don't maybe that was just going on for me, but I was just kinda like, "Okay, settle down, Prince. Here, I'll sign your little waiver, like, we got it," you know? But just the ability to go out with our new buddy, our new golfer, who, to your point, brought his wife, who is not a golfer, and he has to pay for her to go along just to not golf,
Oh, really?
right?
Okay.
I don't know what the greens fees are for a ride along. I mean, maybe they're the same, but they're not nothing, and this is I'm sure they're close to a greens fee, right? So he paid to because they were on a little, little vacation together, which was lovely, like a younger couple, just great people. And so he paid for her. So he didn't say, to your point, so important, off you go to the spa. She said, "Okay, I'm gonna do my thing. You go do golf. You love that, whatever." They decided as a couple that she was go so obviously she's finding something enjoyable about being out on the course, about driving around, about looking at the scenery, and about, like, watching her husband make some good shots and everything, and I asked her, one of the turns, I was like, "Oh, so no golf for you?" Kinda just trying to, like, engage with her a little bit to see what she was up to, and she's like, I've tried, and it's just not for me." Kinda like my mahjong is fast becoming. I'm fast becoming a failed mahjonger. But I always said I would go sit at mahjong and I would mix the tiles for anybody. I'd bring them their little, iced tea or whatever because I like to watch it. I like to see what's going on. I'm just not like I'm not that I don't know. It's just not hitting for me. Something's not working there. But so they were off to your really, really good point, connecting as different people in life. Right? He's this in life. He's a golfer, and he was a good golfer, right? You could tell that it's part of his life. She is not a golfer, but she is a life partner. She's his life partner. So, he and his life partner are out there doing something that she is not doing the exact thing that he's doing, but she is with him and he with her. Right? He with her, because I'm sure when they're in the car, between holes and everything, they're talking about whatever they're talking about their kids or their life or whatever they have going on, and then they get up and then, and he's not he is this is a really this is an important thing even to think about for life and golf because golf has you we watch golf sometimes if you ever watch it on TV, I'm probably the only one who does this. But it is interesting to start to see even the pros get a little frustrated, right?
Oh,
Even the
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When a
Oh,
pro starts
uh-huh.
to get frustrated or, whacks a club, you're like, "Okay," like, they've gotta go take a minute, they've gotta regroup, and the commentators are lighting them up, like, "They've gotta get a hold of themselves, it's such a game and blah, 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 blah." We all know that, right? But just he's not focused on all that. I'm sure he was focused on having a chat with his wife, playing on this beautiful course, having this nice vacation, getting stuck with the 3 of us. He wasn't worried about that. Like, you're so right. He wasn't worried about that
Yeah.
because he's not as self-absorbed as I probably am when I'm out there, right? Like, check yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like, what
Right.
what is that about
For
self-awareness?
sure.
No one's looking at me. Nobody cares. And at the end
Yep.
of the day, what are they gonna say? Like, "Oh, yeah, she was really they're not gonna say that because he said I was okay. But even if they were gonna say, like, "Oh, that person," it's fine. I don't have to see you again. You don't have to be burdened with me. But part of your agreement to show up to life or part of your agreement to show up to a public golf course as a one-some or a threesome, you know you're gonna get paired up with someone, right? Is agreeing, like we've said before, to everything that goes with that.
Yep. And you
Everything that
can't
goes with
yeah,
that. So,
yeah.
we can't show up as a threesome and be, like, upset that we're paired with a single. Of course, we're gonna put us with someone because that's how golf works. He's certainly not gonna be upset that he shows up as a single and gets paired up with either a twosome or a threesome or whatever, whatever it is, because, that's just the way golf works. As in life, there are the same rules apply in life. You know,
Absolutely.
you're gonna get assigned certain situations that you better sign up for the whole thing. If you say, "I wanna go do what I wanna go to college." Okay, I wanna go to college, but I don't wanna be forced to take this class or go to that building or, study in this library or be with the get a group assigned to this thing or what that's not the way it
Right.
works. That's just not the way it works.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, this idea that, your 4th person, this guy that was out there golfing
Yeah,
with you, and his wife was in the cart with him, and she was joining him, like, that's incredibly beautiful because, like, she is going to join him on something that is a big part of his life, right? Because
completely.
you could tell that he was a good golfer and he enjoyed what he
Definitely.
did, and that's his happy place. And for her to see him there and to recognize him there is such a beautiful thing, right? It is like, we want our partners in life to see us all these different ways, right?
Yeah.
And if golf is
Yes.
a big part of who he is, and his wife makes the time to be in the cart with him and to be a part of it, that shows like so much care, so much understanding, so much about knowing someone and wanting to be a part of all the layers of them, right? It's not that
Yes.
she has to be a golfer because she said, I tried, it's not for me.
But just not for me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not
So
like I'm
it's
still
not for
learning. I didn't wanna play on this course. I was embarrassed. No,
right.
it was none of that.
And
Just
that's
like
okay.
that.
Like, we
Done.
don't need to be everything to our partners.
No. Right.
And so she's not trying to be his golf buddy, but she will be the extra person sitting in the cart and enjoy the beautiful day and cruise along
Yeah.
with him. And that is a beautiful story. And you know what? Even more now. So, like, even more now that you told that part of the story, I'm like, he doesn't care what you're doing on this day, Chris. He's like, I'm great. I'm sitting with my wife in the cart. She's happy to be here. I get to do something I love. Like, I've got my person that I love with me, and I'm on this course, and I love playing golf. Like, he doesn't care. And,
Right.
they always say, like, we always think everyone's watching us, and no one's watching us. Like, in yoga class, people are like, oh, it's kind of embarrassing. I was like, no one's watching you. Like, no
Nobody
one
cares
is.
about
And
you.
most of the
I
time,
say it all the
I'm
time.
not.
No one cares
Most
about
of
you.
Nobody
Yeah.
cares about you. And most of the time, like, even the teacher, like, I can't watch everybody all the time. And if I am, I'm like just making sure everyone's safe. I'm not watching to see what they're doing. I'm just like glancing, making sure, okay, everyone's all right. Here we go. I'm not analyzing them. And I was like, you just have to realize, like, it is not about you out there. Like, they are doing their thing. You're doing it's like constant parallel play. Right.
Oh, it is.
And
It's a huge life. It's like one big life lesson. I mean, let me tell you this. This is what's interesting. So, you're right. For sure you're right. Like he doesn't care about me. I mean, my own family who's with me doesn't even care like what I got going on the course. They're just like, whatever. My son even at one point was really cute because there was like a bunny, on our tee box and everything. He's like, oh my gosh, look at the bunny. And then as it gets darker, then we get more bunnies, coming out. So I think he was just as happy to be watching the bunnies as he was to be, playing golf and having any of that kind of stuff. But one of the things I got, the another lesson I got, and I'll see if this is in our future tips, I'm sure it is the concept of in life, we focus on the things that are like less hard sometimes, or that we kind of already have established, or that might not be the more difficult things that are going to move the needle. And what I realized in this outing was, and I said that like towards the end of there's a couple funny stories. Oh, I forgot about this one too. So I said towards the end, I was like, I really should take a putting lesson. And my good golfing buddy, who's now my buddy. We've been talking the whole time, was talking to our family. We had a really great time with him. It was actually it was such a great experience. But he's like, yeah, putting. He's like, that's what I focus on. I focus on my short game. That's what I focus on putting. It takes you so far, right? But those of us who are golfers know that what we love to do is hit our driver, hit our 3 wood, hit some, easy 7 iron. We just love, and we just feel so good on the driving range, like whack, 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 right? All day long, not replicating a life on the course, right? Not replicating, well, this 7 iron has to get me over there, or cross this thing in between these two bunkers. No, we're just like out of the driving range, not unintentional. So I think there's so many lessons of this, right? To If you are interested in playing a game of life and improving in one specific way, then it's set the intention. So even when you're on the driving range, right? The intent you put your 7 iron in your hand, it's like, well, what's your intention? If your intention is just to hit that ball and, make contact, well, okay. But if your intention is, and now you get to the point where you're beyond the contact, they have markers on the range. They have bunkers on the range. They sometimes even have, a little water feature somewhere on the range. And then you start challenging yourself if this is your intention to get to certain markers. And the putting lesson is important because that's the part of life that is not fun. It's not
Sure.
fun I mean, maybe it is for people who are really good at it, but it's generally something that's overlooked by a lot of us novice golfers, like those of us who aren't really good. We don't spend time there, but it's the area that's gonna give us the most significant improvement. Like, we have the most control over our game when we're sitting there 2 feet from a hole, right? Versus 340 feet away from that hole, right? Like, we have a ton of control just right there. So I thought, "Okay, part of my intention was take a putting lesson, and I would apply that in life, is, do the thing that you don't wanna that you don't that sucks. I was working out today, and I have to do these farmer carries. And Rachel, they're terrible. I'm just gonna say it. They're awful. You put these 2 dumbbells in your hand, and you walk around with these really heavy dumbbells in your hand for 2 minutes, and you do that 3 times. How boring and annoying is that? But for longevity, this is a really important exercise, right? So, putting putting is to my farmer carries, is to those things that are going to change you and allow you to grow, that you are kind of like just pushing up against. Like, I really don't wanna sit there and putt for an hour. Like, I really don't wanna sit there and putt even 30 minutes, like to pay someone to
Yeah.
teach me how to move a ball 2 feet?
Yeah. It's not the exciting part, driving at a driving range where you hit the ball hard and you see it fly and you're like, "Whoa," and then, you putt something, you're like,
Awesome.
Yeah, so there is a different thing there. There's the excitement part and then there's the other stuff, and it's like when you cook an amazing meal, you're like, "Oh, it's so amazing." You make the things and you eat it, and, the cleanup is never the part that you love, right?
Good
It's just
point. Yeah,
doing the dishes, but it is all a part of it,
it's
and if you
all
don't
part of
do
it.
it, you can't cook the next meal, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And it's all the pieces make up the whole. And that means so if you're just gonna focus on hitting amazing with your driver, right? Like you're
Yes.
great. You'll get the ball somewhere. But it's not gonna get you um all the way to
Right.
the end of that hole. It's gonna take a lot of different tools. And that is so true in life. It's like we all come with these. I always joke around in yoga, in yoga, we have off the shelf poses. Like when your first time you come to the mat, there are poses you can do no problem.
Yes.
Those are your off the shelf. And you're like, great. And you
Yes.
can sit and do those all day long. And you're like, no big deal,
Yeah. This is crow for
whatever.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. Throw pose, right? You're like, great, I got this,
Almost. And I feel so
perfect.
accomplished, but it's not the challenge for me.
No, the
Exactly.
challenge is to
Such
do
a
the
good point.
poses you hate. The poses,
Yeah.
I'm
Or that
always
I
like, and I will throw them in. I don't pick to do these poses, but then I'm like, I gotta throw them in because I don't like to do them. And there are things that
right.
I don't like. And I don't, but I also know my practice won't be well rounded and my body won't be addressed as a whole unless I do all the poses. Right. And
Mhm.
so all of the pieces make up the whole. And the ones that are hard to do, the ones that are challenging, the ones you don't like are the ones you need to do. Um,
Yes.
and here's
Totally.
I have such respect for one of my friends right now. She's taking singing lessons. And yeah,
Oh, I have such respect for her
she
too.
hates
Yeah.
she's like, I don't like my voice. I don't like to sing, but she
Yeah.
has gone in hard and to take singing lessons. And I was like, and she's like, it is like worse than therapy. I'm like,
Oh, I'm sure.
imagine. And I have so much respect for her for doing that.
So I do
And it's
too.
like,
So much.
there's so much in there. She's learning so much from doing that, not just about singing, right? Your putting
No,
game is
about
not
herself.
learning just about how to putt. Your putting game is learning about how to be patient, how
That's
to
right.
like not make it a big deal, how to like embrace the challenge, how to just move it, not try to get it all the way by the hole, but just get it closer in this first putt,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
And it's like
Yes.
and the same thing true with singing is for her, it's like it's uncovering lots of things and making her very, very uncomfortable, and I'm like, and though that's the place for growth. That discomfort, that brushing up against something that you don't wanna do is usually the thing that makes you uncomfortable, the thing you don't like, the thing that, like, isn't something that's off the shelf for you is exactly where you need to spend your time. And the fact
Right.
that, like, it was, like, that we're talking about your golf situation, I was like, "Good." Obviously, if it was, like, no big deal, we wouldn't be having this conversation, but there were
Oh, we
things
would
that
not be
came
talking. If I were a
No,
scratch golfer, we would not be having this
no,
conversation. Well, we
no,
might
you'd be
on
like
a very different level.
yeah, no, you wouldn't be talking about it at all. You'd be like, "Yeah, no, golf is great, like, I don't what do you wanna talk about today on the podcast?"
Yeah,
Like, there
what
would not
tips do you want, Rach? I can tell you anything. There wouldn't be nearly as much humility in the conversation as there definitely is in this. Yeah, and it's opportunity over outcome. Like that's really what you're talking about. It's opportunity
Yes.
over outcome, right? Because the whole point is like that's why I said I was so grateful to even have been given the opportunity to learn to golf, and for her to give herself the opportunity to sing. I don't
Mhm.
know if she's ever gonna sing in front of people or not. Hopefully, she'll
Yeah.
get there. I can't wait, maybe on her birthday, she'll decide, like, this is my coming out party, and she'll just, like, belt something out. I always have this dream that maybe someday I would do that and, like, sing at my kid's wedding or something, and I don't sing, and they know that, but maybe I could. Maybe I'll just putt for them. Maybe I'll just take those putting lessons and I'll putt up the aisle or something. But, yeah, it's just it's the intentionality, it's not beating ourselves up, like, I'm just kinda, like, putting together my takeaways from this very massive life lesson that I didn't realize I got, thank you, Rachel, while I was out there golfing. I thought my lesson from this conversation was going to be more related to the fact that I had to overcome all my, like, anxiety and everything about being out there because I'm with that other player who is, good, and then I don't wanna hold up the group, and I've got all this kinda stuff going on, but I hadn't at all in my head made the correlation to what I was learning and executing out there as a golfer, and a lot of it I would pat myself on the back. I think it not as a golfer, but as a lifer, being able to be chill with it, being able to say, "I'm just gonna pick up, and I'm gonna be totally fine with that." Being able to let, my son go off and finish at 9 and we keep going to finish 18. Meeting a new friend, who is really they were a lovely couple. We had a really great time out there with them. Just play I did. Hopefully he'll like you said, hopefully yeah. But I think we all did. I think, we all just had just a nice day on the course. But being able to apply all I was getting so much of what I was getting that day wasn't even about how awesome that was of the day. I'm practicing, and you always say this all the time. You're so good about saying this. There it's it's practice. Practice, 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 right? These are practices. So whether you're learning something new or you're trying something difficult or you're in this game of life just on a going about your day and something is challenging you, that's your opportunity to practice grateful, not greedy. Whatever in whatever version your Grateful Not Greedy is sent to you, right? So my Grateful Not Greedy was sent to me in the version of golf. It was sent to me in the version of I'm gonna enjoy the fact that I know how to play this game at all, that I can even have an ability to be out here, that I can be with my son when I used to be with my dad. Like you're saying, grateful, 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 not greedy. I can't believe I can't get a par. I did not, by the way, not 1 par. Can't believe I can't get a par. Can't 2 putt anything to, like, save my life. I can't, make sure that I'm not on the drop circle, like, all these negatives coming at me, I just give those away because that's all the greed. The greed is, "Why can't I do this pose in yoga, Rachel, even when I've never practiced it? I never practiced this pose, but why can't I do it? Or it's so frustrating that I can't do it, or look at her over there, she can totally do it, she looks amazing doing it and I can't." No, we're all on the golf course together. Some people are better at some shots than you. Some people get different advantage than you. I get a way better advantage than they do from the back tees, like just the way the life goes. Just sometimes it works out that way. So yeah, thank you because this has been so helpful, honestly, to just to even reflect on all the the practicing that I did in just those 5 hours of golf, and I thought I was just hanging out, having my first round of golf in 3 years,
Yeah.
which and I don't have the right clubs, I'm hodgepodging all my clubs together, I'm like, and I start to get a little aggro about that. I was like, "Let it go, Chris, let it go." We get to the end. This is my final story of the day, Rachel. We are on the final hole, coming in on the 18th, and, the 19th hole, since you're a golfer, is where you get to have a little cocktail or maybe take a little beer, like get a little sandwich or, get a Diet Coke or get a kombucha or whatever you drink. And so we're coming in on the 18th hole, dreaming of the 19th hole. And and I hit my drive. I had a really decent drive. My husband hits his. We're about even. The other guy's, of course, about 20 yards ahead of us. And I got to hit my second shot. It's over this big ravine, dropping down into the hole. It's one of those psych out shots, right? But I'm like, okay, I know I can get there. I just, and I'm looking at my 3 wood. I'm like, I don't, like that's gonna be too much. Da, 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 da. And since we've now switched carts and switched clubs and, my son's gone and a different set is in, I don't even know what's in the back anymore of this cart that I'm a passenger in. And my my husband's like, "Oh, hey, well, do you want to use this? Are you like this? You want to use the scooper club I've been using?" I was like, "Yeah, what is it?" He's like, "Oh, I don't even know. I think it's a 7." I was like, "Oh, you mean you have had my go-to club, a 7 wood. You have had a 7 wood in this cart, in this bag, the entire time, and I didn't know because it's in his little set of clubs or whatever, and I'm playing with the garbage that is left over from the neighbors and the garage sales, and he has a 7 wood, and I was like, "Yes. I would love to hit a 7 wood on this particular shot." So then I take this little 7 wood, I whack it, perfect, great. Now I'm on the green, on my second shot on the green, and then I proceed to, like, 6 or 12 or 28 putt, whatever I ended up doing, but also to show you, if you have the right tools, which are whatever are for you in life. For me, it's my 7 wood. Correlate that to whatever your life tool is, right? It could be your best friend. It could be, your book. It could be your this, whatever your correlate is, have the right tools or have the tools that you're going to give you the confidence to execute. So that is my final story. I cannot wait to hear from Sean because I'm gonna weave in all these lessons of life into his best golf tips that he's gonna give us after hearing what a terrible golfer I am. I don't know if he even knows, actually.
Well, he's about to find out. Well, and
We're gonna
here's
find out.
yeah. And this has been an interesting conversation for me as well, because it makes me think about, what expectations am I putting on myself? And why am I doing these different sports and different things? Like what is it I'm trying to get out of it? And it is
Mhm.
true. Um, we are either practiced or unpracticed, when
Yeah.
it comes to learning something new or bettering ourselves. And it's not that we are like I am a bad golfer. I just haven't practiced. And if I invest the time, the energy, I can be better. But the question am I choosing that? And what is my priority? What am I trying to get out of this? And that's
Yes.
exactly where, if you're expecting to be this level of a player, whether it's a sport or a game, bridge or golf or pickleball or yoga, whatever it is, you have to invest the time in that. And
Yeah.
nothing else is going to replace that. And, however you do that, if you have expectation, if you want to keep going, then you choose that. And so for me, it's always like, what is my intention? How
Mhm.
can I not let that be hijacked by anybody else?
Yeah.
Right, and stay true to that, because that to me is, like, that part of being, grateful for that, and then the greed is the hijack or the expectations, and I think it's an important piece to consider, especially when you are playing, in a group sport, because there are others. Everyone comes with their own set of
Yeah.
rules, set of expectations, their
Baggage.
history, their
Yeah.
baggage, their experience in sports before they stepped on this court and all the other sports they played. Like, that all plays into their filter and
Mhm.
their own. And how can you still take care of your needs out there, um, and, like, have a good time. Like, that's
Right,
the end
and
of it.
enjoy it.
It's like,
It's so
can
true.
you have a good time? Like, Because why else would your time is your most valuable asset. Why else would you spend your time and not try and have a good time? Like, have the
Yes.
best time possible. And
Yep.
so, you know,
And that's training too. That's all part of it. It's like training yourself to be in
absolutely.
those moments and let it be fun. Let it be free. Let that, that missed shot be funny. Whatever it is that's gonna, yeah, create the happiness and get rid of the greed, bring in the gratitude all day long. Whatever you focus on expands, right? So
Right.
focus on things in that moment that are just gonna be grateful, grateful, grateful. So thank you, Rach, because it's been so helpful to go through and just get all these other lessons. There's just, like, all these little Easter eggs in here that I wasn't expecting to find. So it's like
Oh, good.
it's really, really fun. So I appreciate you so much. Thanks to everyone for listening. I wish you, the best in your sports or life pursuits. I would say hit them straight out there, and aloha, Rach.
Aloha, Chris.
And aloha, Sean. We are ready to hear all your greatest tips of golf. We will see you next time.
Aloha, Kris and Rach, and thank you so much for introducing me to your audience here. I was so honored when you thought of me because, as you know, golf is near and dear to my heart. And I could talk for hours and hours about this wonderful game because, as you both mentioned in here, there are so many wonderful metaphors for life within the game of golf. And there's so many metaphors for the be grateful, not greedy concept within the game of golf. Because golf, as everyone knows, is so hard. The game is so incredibly humbling, and no matter how good you get, those little mistakes are just right around the corner. And so it's just one of those games that does definitely keep you honest and keep you humble, and it's a lifelong pursuit. That's what makes the game so great, in my opinion, is one day you have your driver all figured out and your irons aren't working, or one day your irons are working great and your putter won't behave. So it's just there's always something to figure out and always something to improve on, and that's why people are playing this game late into their 80s and 90s. So, as promised, here are 3 tips in order to have a good time on the golf course. So, first tip is treat it like a vacation. Most people don't really get out but a couple of times a year, and it takes a lot of planning, and it's a long day as it is anyways. Most time it's 4.5 hours on the golf course just to play the round. So I say show up early, have some lunch, hit some practice balls before you go in, grab an Arnold Palmer, have a cocktail, have 2. You're out there to connect with your friends and with your family and have a good time and enjoy the outdoors and enjoy the beautiful golf course. So for one, put yourself into that proper perspective of the vacation mindset. You know how when you're on vacation, nothing really goes wrong, even when things go wrong, it's like, well, who cares? I think all people should have that mentality when they're on the golf course because, again, the game is so hard and it can be so frustrating, but you gotta just remind yourself why you're out there and what you're out there to do. So let's go to number 2. Tip number 2 is take a practice swing. I can't emphasize this enough for amateur golfers when I see, as I'm out there playing with other people, that, golf, we're trying to do such specific things, such, tiny little differences. Every shot is different. Every club is different. The ground beneath your feet can be just subtly different. So I think taking a practice swing cannot be, overemphasized in you trying to execute, what you intend to do. So I think the practice swing can go a really long way, and you'll see the pros out there. Sometimes they'll take 6, 7, 8, 10 practice swings. You don't need to go overkill, but it's really just trying to feel exactly what you're trying to do. Aim small, miss small. That's what they always say. And my final tip and most favorite, and something that I adhere to, I think everyone should adhere to unless you're playing in a tournament or if you're playing for money, and that is to improve unfortunate lies. We all know that crazy scenarios can come up in golf where you're stuck right behind a tree, or your ball is plugged in the sand bunker and it's buried in sand, or you happen to just land right in a divot, or, you're right up against something crazy. I always say bump the ball. move the ball over to somewhere reasonable. You know, if you're on a bad patch of grass and there's some good grass right next to it, bump it onto the good grass, you know? Again, if you're not playing for money and nobody's trying to, you know, keep score or for any real reason, you're all out there to have fun anyways. Make it as easy as possible on yourself. I do it myself too, you know? It's like, I'm not out here to try to prove anything to anybody, and you know, I'm not going to win any prizes by trying to hit this crazy shot around this tree, you know, so. And you know, I'll even extend this into make the game as easy as possible on yourself. If that means playing from the closest tee box so it's closer to you. If it means not hitting it over a lake if you don't think you're going to make it over the lake. You know, make the game easy on yourself. You know, the intention is to have fun and to hit some good shots. I think that's what every golfer is really out there to do and to hang their hat on every time they go out there, is to say, hey, wow, man, I hit that 7-iron great on number 14, didn't I? That's right. So we're all just trying to hit good shots. So put yourself in good position to hit good shots. That's it. Put yourself in position to have a good time. That's what this game is all about. That's what Be Grateful Not Greedy is all about. And so these are my 3 tips to have a good time and to stay grateful on the golf course. Aloha, folks.